Hello and welcome to BW TV. This is Brij Pahawa and today I have with me Mr. Pawan Agarwal, CEO FSSAI. Mr. Agarwal, glad
Hello.
to have met you and glad that you're giving us
Thank you,
your
Brij.
time. We'd be asking certain food safety regulation questions to Mr. Agarwal. FSSAI has been an institutional body in India since a long time now, and the theme of this interview would be how it is evolving in the changing scenario of food safety control and laws in India. And we'd request Mr. Agarwal to be as frank to us as possible. My first question to you, Mr. Agarwal, is the government is focusing on now one law for almost everything. We saw the rollout of GST, although there have been critical voices around GST because of the lack of implementation standards, if I can say. You're also planning one nation, one food safety law. So on what stage is that?
Let me tell you that genesis of Food Safety and Standards Authority of India lies in one food safety law. In fact, prior to 2006, in 2006 the Food Safety and Standards Act 2006 was enacted, and prior to that there were 9 regulations under different ministries and departments of the Government of India. They were handling food safety related issues in their own ways. So, Food Safety and Standards Act 2006 brought them together under one umbrella. So, that actually was one single food safety law for the country. Despite that, there are areas which food businesses have to deal with relating to food safety and related issues that fall outside FSSAI jurisdiction. And I'll tell you, for instance, food imports. In food imports, obviously the customs, Central Board of Excise and Customs is involved. So that is one agency that people have to deal with, the importers have to deal with. Second is plant quarantine under the Ministry of Agriculture. Third is animal quarantine, which is under the Department of Animal Husbandry and Fisheries. So these 3 agencies are involved for food import controls. Similarly, there are other bodies, like legal metrology. They deal with issues relating to retail pricing and so they deal with the packaging regulations, and we also have Bureau of Indian Standards and AgMark, which are basically quality parameters and quality standards. So despite FSSAI being there as an umbrella food regulatory authority for the country, there are at least 6 agencies that deal with the food related different aspects of, and obviously it's neither practical or not even desirable to bring them all under the umbrella of FSSAI. I think a better coordinated approach is a much better option, and the whole idea of the slogan of one nation, one food safety law is the spirit of one food safety law, that internally they may be organized under different departments and ministries, but for the food businesses, they don't even see that they are not one body. So the whole idea is that can we create institutional mechanism by working together so that outsiders look at the entire ecosystem as one ecosystem.
Okay.
And we actually rolled out this initiative in the wake of World Food India 2017, and this was essentially to send a message loud and clear to investors and people who trade with India in food, that Indian food laws are progressive, and Indian agencies, Indian agencies, they work in a cooperative manner. And not only about messaging, it's not a slogan alone. In fact, what we created was a food regulatory portal, which brings together not only the various aspects of regulating food in India on one platform, the various services that we provide to food businesses on one platform, but also services that are provided by other agencies on this platform. So that food regulatory portal was launched in the wake of the World Food India 2017, and we have recently taken a decision only yesterday to create an institutional arrangement for coordination and cooperation.
Okay.
And all these agencies were invited, and we are setting up a committee which will meet periodically to address these issues of coordination and cooperation, including a single interface for grievance redressal of food businesses on issues relating to regulatory concerns of these businesses.
So basically, you're planning to strengthen the whole institutional
Precisely.
mechanism. At the outset, FSSAI has been seen as a relatively weaker body when compared to international food safety standards authorities. I won't quote examples, but let's say the Nestle example or the Patanjali example. As a leader now heading FSSAI, what do you think? Is it a perception issue that we think FSSAI is a weak body, or is there an issue with the concerned laws that govern FSSAI? And how do you think that you can strengthen this institutional building?
This body is in infancy. You know, when you are referring to other countries, regulatory arrangements for food safety,
for example,
other
FDA,
countries, US FDA was established, I believe, in 1900. I think it was established in
relatively older.
So 1916 or something, or 1906. Either of these dates. So these are bodies that have been in existence for decades or centuries. And from that point of view, we are a relatively young body. We are still in infancy. We are setting our systems and processes, and we are strengthening our systems and processes. The law itself is very robust. In fact, while drafting the law, inputs were taken from food laws of other countries, and therefore we have a very robust food safety law in the country today. Its implementation obviously will take time. All provisions, their effective implementation will take a little time. So, and our effort today is how do we strengthen this, the internal institutional structure, the processes, practices that we follow, and how do we create a more robust ecosystem. Look at it, FSSAI today has some 300 staff, while similar kind of bodies elsewhere in the world, Canada, their food safety inspection service has 6,000 staff. A country that has just 4% of India's population. And in US there are 3 agencies that deal with food safety. US FDA, USDA deals with food safety.
With the drugs and
USDA Department of
FDA deals.
US FDA deals with packaged food. USDA deals with meat and meat products, poultry, and the third is the alcohol and tobacco is another body which is under the Treasury, under US Treasury. So they together deal with food safety issues. In India, there is just one body, and these 3 bodies in US have 25,000 staff. We have 3,000 people, 300 people in the FSSAI today. Of course, there are 3,000 people, over 3,000 people who are food safety officers and staff and state governments. So I'm not taking into account the staff that US states have. We do not even know the numbers. We do not even have those numbers with us, but their staff is also huge. So now, given that we have a robust law, we have limited resources, and our country is large, our food ecosystem is very complex. I think predominantly, though there are big players like the ones that you refer to, but a large part of Indian food ecosystem, food manufacturing processing sector is under the MSME, and you have large unorganized sector. So the challenges in India are very different. So with very few staff, how do we deliver more with less? And that is the challenge.
Plus the quality of it.
And obviously the expectation, obviously we would not, as a citizen, I would not expect that I should get inferior quality of food than what a US citizens get. So expectations are rising, and expectations are similar to that of any citizen elsewhere in the world, and that is, we cannot there is nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely,
In terms of expectations.
Absolutely.
So now we have to create an institutional framework to be able to deliver more with less. So how do we do it? One is that the mandate of the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India is to ensure availability of safe and wholesome food for all our citizens, all 365 days in a year and 3-4 times a day. Okay, so if that is the mandate that we have, obviously 300 people cannot do anything. So we have to work in partnerships. We have to basically, this mandate that is given to us has to be shared with all other stakeholders, and our key stakeholders are food businesses. So we work in close partnership with the food businesses. We also work with consumer organizations, scientists, scientific bodies, institutions. So in many ways, though there may be only 300 people staff in this organization, we work maybe with 30,000 people, outside the FSSAI. As we speak, in the other room, you can see a huge seminar, a workshop going on. There are 4 experts from outside who have been organized by CII and HUL, from their international operations abroad. And then there are 40 people who are being trained on, advances in microbiological food safety.
Okay.
So I think that is how we work, that we have to work in partnership. We are part of an ecosystem. But it is our shared responsibility to ensure that the food is safe for everyone. And we do believe that our food businesses also want that the food that they supply in the marketplace is safe and wholesome. So I don't think there is any misalignment of the overall vision.
But do you think that the capacity building within the organization also needs to be increased?
We need more people, and we are taking it up with the government, and hopefully something will happen on that front. Despite that, I'm sure that no government will give us 25,000-30,000 people for FSSAI. We may get a few hundred more people, that's it. But compared to the size of the country, I think the numbers that we may require, if we adopt merely a traditional regulatory approach of enforcement and inspections, that is not possible. So we have to find ways of working in partnerships, working through private organizations and institutions.
For example, you have Coca-Cola training program.
That is capacity building,
yeah,
but in addition to that, for instance, on inspections we are very weak because we don't have inspectors. So we have recently impaneled 15 audit agencies. They are international food safety audit agencies that have long experience, and they are experts in this field. So, and this third party food safety audit is something which is used across the world. So if, of course, there are only 15 of them, hopefully as their businesses grow, more such food safety audit agencies will come up in India. Both international agencies will come and find opportunities here. In India, there may be homegrown food safety audit agencies. So once that happens, perhaps if there is a third party audit, and third party audit is like chartered accountants conducting audit of the accounts of the businesses. So in this case, they are conducting food safety audit of the businesses. So I think we have to use new ways of doing things, and that is where we are primarily focused on.
Okay.
One is shared vision, second is working in partnership, and third is that to reach scale, a lot of things that we are currently doing is essentially try to make them simple. If we make them simple, then scaling up becomes easy. So simple to make them scalable. So that is why a lot of our initiatives are using technology, making things simple, and scaling up.
Absolutely.
So that in many of the modern offices today, the core staff in the central organization is very small, but they have an outreach in the nook and corner of the country by following simple processes, by effectively leveraging technology to reach all citizens everywhere in the country, and that is what we are exactly doing here. We have, for instance, IT platform that we have recently developed for food safety inspections and sampling, and this platform is based on a matrix that all the food businesses, we have identified 6 for the time being. We may have a few more as we move forward. All the inspections that will be conducted by food safety officers will be using the same matrix across the country, and this matrix and these inspections can be carried out on your smartphone. So it brings in transparency, consistency of approach across the country, and it takes care of a lot of issues that are there in inspections, and inspections being done in an objective and transparent manner.
Absolutely.
So the third is scaling up with simplicity. Fourth is building capacity overall, not only of our own organization, but a big focus of FSSAI today is building capacity of businesses to ensure that they produce safe food, they produce wholesome food, and wherein we have a big initiative on food safety training and certification. Food safety training and certification, FOSTEC, is a big initiative which is being run by us. Over a period of time, we are going to make it mandatory for all food businesses to have at least one person who is trained and certified on food safety as per our curriculum in all their premises. And if that happens, it would mean that there will be hundreds of thousands of such people in all food businesses across the country who know how safety is to be maintained in the value chain, and they will ensure that safety. Then our role as a regulator to enforce food safety becomes easy.
Absolutely.
So building capacity across the board. And the fifth point is, as I mentioned before, is technology. That I think if we have less resources and more things to do,
absolutely,
technology works best.
Technology works.
In some sense, FSSAI right from its inception, our licensing and registration, our food imports controls, they were all IT based. Now we are upgrading our IT systems to the next level so that they can effectively address the challenges of the future. And I can only assure you that as we move forward, we aspire to provide same level of confidence to our citizens in the food safety of the food that they get in the country as anywhere else in the world. Of course, our approach is going to be somewhat different from the approach that many developed countries have adopted.
You have talked about, and there's a positive note in what you are saying regarding how FSSAI is evolving into a more strengthened organization, but something which concerns our viewers is also the quality of food which is coming from the farms, right? More and more people are now going towards organic food because there is scare around the kind of vegetables coming from farms. There's scare around the kind of food which is available in the market. There's a scare around the kind of food which is available in trains, for example. So what is the FSSAI mandate here, and do you think that such examples can be eradicated, and there are better safety standards here as well?
I think there you have 3 questions. First, let me speak about the organic food. Let me first upfront mention that our mandate starts post harvest. So we do not regulate farming operations. Absolutely. Okay, that is under the Ministry of Agriculture. Absolutely. Animal rearing, animal husbandry, that is under the Department of Animal Husbandry. We come into the picture after the food is harvested, and when it goes through the value chain, entire supply chain for processing and then to distribution and retail, that is where we come in, including storage and transportation.
But since we talked about one nation, one food.
So when our mandate is limited to this, then obviously we have a challenge in ensuring what's happening.
before
in the farm level.
Exactly.
But we have a way of doing it. You know, the way of addressing this issue. The way we can address this issue is to ensure that as soon as it arrives into, it falls within our purview, we ensure that the food is safe. Means there are maximum residue levels for pesticides, there are maximum residue levels of veterinary drugs, there are maximum residue levels of antibiotics. If we reject consignments, reject food that is not meeting those levels, then obviously there will be pressure on farmers to use fertilizers, to use pesticides, to use veterinary drugs carefully, so that these residue levels are not crossed. Now, as far as that is concerned, you know, we are trying to make a beginning in this regard. In fact, in most cases, the residue levels are being defined. They have already been defined. They will be defined moving forward in the next few months, even for antibiotics. You must have read about it in the newspapers. So, as and when these are defined, this becomes a regulatory requirement. No food in the Indian market can be sold, you know, transacted unless they meet those requirements of maximum residue levels. So, we will indirectly impact the farming operations, not directly. Now, coming secondly to your organic food thing. Organic food obviously is about farming and less about the processing, etc. But we have a mandate to ensure regulation of organic food as well. So, under that mandate, we have come out with regulations for organic food, wherein we are working with the Ministry of Agriculture. They have a participatory guarantee scheme. There is another scheme under the Ministry of Commerce, which is the NPOP. So, these two certification systems we have recognized, because these are established systems, and as we move forward, we may recognize some other certification system also. So, any food that goes through those processes is automatically approved as organic food under FSS Act also. We have come out with a symbol for organic food. I think you can see it here. So, this is the symbol Javik Bharat. So, from 1st of July 2018, this food will be found in all organic food in the country. You know, of course, people the businesses can start using it even now, but we hope to complete this process by 1st of July 2018. So, organic food regulation is there, and we do hope that integrity of organic food that is available in the marketplace is maintained once these regulations are completely enforced. We have organic food integrity database. That portal is available there. You can check when you buy it from the market whether that food is shown in that portal or not, and that will give you a confidence that the food is actually organic or not. So, that is about the organic food. The third question, which was in your longish question, was about the hygiene in railways, in trains. Now, hygiene in railways, you know, that is a big ecosystem by itself. And they have IRCTC and others. The Railway Catering Authority. And they have also established, a fairly robust food safety ecosystem within the railways. FSSAI has a responsibility to ensure that works well. So, we are already in the process of conducting a third-party audit of the food safety as is handled in the railways, because I see that this cannot be handled, you know, without taking a systemic approach to food safety in railways. So, what we are going to do through that third-party audit is to understand what is working in Indian railways and what is not working in Indian railways, and where the gaps are and what needs to be plugged. So, as soon as we have a report of the third party audit on hygiene conditions in Indian railways, we will be able to fix those issues in partnership with Indian railways, so that public confidence in the food served on Indian railways is maintained. I know with some reports in the media and the CSG report, the confidence of people in general about food in railways has eroded. But we are confident that by taking steps in a systematic manner, we'll be able to restore that confidence.
Sure, sure. FSSAI, as Mr. Agarwal terms, is in right now in an infancy stage, but through third-party organizations and through partnerships, FSSAI is trying to build its institution, build capacity to ensure that food safety laws in India are strengthened, and you, the people, of course, get quality food service. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal, for giving BW Businessworld your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Biz. Thank you.